Today, B2B salespeople spend 20% of their working hours doing nothing but figuring out who to call next. Standard CRM systems try to help, but they either force reps to rely on subjective intuition or they wait for behavioral signals that show up way too late in the buying cycle. By the time the system flags a hot lead, the sales rep has already burned hours on cold ones. Researchers recently tested a new two-stage approach called the PRISM model, profiling and ranking integrated scoring. Instead of tweaking the algorithm to look for different signals, PRISM completely flips the chronological order of how sales data is processed. After analyzing nearly 8 million interactions across the legal, commercial cleaning, and custom payment industries, the results were clear. PRISM delivered up to an 18% higher conversion rate compared to standard models. By restructuring the sequence of how we look at the data, sales teams can systematically filter out the dead ends and focus their energy entirely on the highest probability buyers. The first step of the PRISM model is straightforward. Group your leads by their structural demographics before you evaluate a single behavioral action. This requires isolating firmographic data points up front, primarily the prospect's job title, their management level, and the company's overall size. The system feeds this data into unsupervised clustering, a machine learning technique that automatically organizes similar profiles together. The buying process for an enterprise VP looks very different from a startup manager. Scoring them using identical criteria skews the data. This chart shows how the clustering algorithm organized the raw data in the actual study. Across the legal, cleaning, and payment sectors, the leads cleanly divided into 3 to 5 distinct demographic groups. And this set of box plots demonstrates the mathematical differences in company sizes across those newly formed groups. The data proves that the scale of the firm strongly dictates the buying process. Feeding structurally different business models into a single scoring algorithm dilutes the predictive accuracy. To target effectively, you have to isolate the demographics first. Once the leads are safely siloed into their respective demographic groups, we can move to the second tactic, the scoring stage. Instead of ranking every lead against each other, the model makes leads compete exclusively against peers within their cluster. Because startup cycles move quickly, a low-engagement startup manager might actually have a higher conversion probability than a highly engaged enterprise VP. When researchers tested this peer-to-peer mathematical ranking against traditional intuition-based scoring methods, the algorithm won decisively every single time. In B2B sales, behavioral context is completely relative. An action like opening an email or asking for a demo only indicates real intent when it's measured against a peer facing the exact same purchasing constraints. That brings us to the final execution tactic, using engagement intensity to actually organize the sales floor's daily workflow. The study identified 2 behavioral variables as the ultimate predictors of a closed deal: the sheer number of phone calls and the total duration of those conversations. Sales reps often fall into the good conversation trap. Friendly chats feel promising, but objective data shows low engagement time guarantees a dead end. Sales leaders need to strip human preference out of the equation. Your Monday morning call lists should be built strictly off these clustered engagement scores. If reps ignore the data and go back to cherry-picking the leads they personally like best, then the entire PRISM system simply fails. You can have the most sophisticated machine learning model in the world, but it won't generate a single dollar without the operational discipline to execute the data exactly as it's presented. The financial impact of the PRISM logic comes down to minimizing false positives. It stops your team from burning hundreds of hours on prospects who were never going to buy in the first place. The process requires 3 sequential steps. Group your leads by demographics first, rank them against identical peers second, and prioritize the actual outreach strictly by engagement intensity. Challenge your operations team to test just one of these segmentation steps in your CRM this week, and track how it impacts your pipeline. The future of B2B sales doesn't belong to the loudest talker on the floor. It belongs to the teams who let objective data define their strategy.